You know, when people ask me why I still talk so much about the Apple TV in 2025, I usually smile and say, because you don't really get it until you've actually lived with one. And honestly, I was just like you at one point. I thought, smart TVs were already enough. I mean, they come with Netflix, YouTube, Disney+, Amazon Prime Video, and even random streaming services that you never asked for but end up installed by default. So on the surface, why would anyone spend extra money on another box, right? That was my mindset too. But let me tell you something straight. After I got my hands on the Apple TV, my entire perspective flipped upside down. And the deeper I went, the more I realized this isn't just a streaming gadget, it's practically the missing brain your television desperately needed but never had. So, today I want to take you on a long, detailed breakdown of why this little box has turned into one of my favorite Apple devices of all time, and why in 2025, when the competition is at its peak, Apple TV still manages to stand out and feel like a must-have. Let's start with the thing that nobody in showrooms ever tells you when you're buying a brand new television. You walk in, you see these massive OLED panels, gorgeous QLED displays, everything blasting with colors so rich that you almost feel like you're staring into another world. But here's the dirty little secret. Those TV companies are absolutely phenomenal at making displays. But when it comes to the actual computing, the software, the processing chip, the navigation, they usually drop the ball big time. You're essentially getting a Ferrari's body, but with a 20-year-old rusted engine inside. And that engine is what makes your brand new television feel outdated just 6 months after you bought it. That was my biggest frustration with smart TVs. They're great at first, fast enough, smooth enough, but slowly things start getting sluggish. The Netflix app takes forever to open, YouTube takes its sweet time to load, thumbnails refuse to appear, and sometimes the whole system freezes until you pull the plug out of the wall. Now, Apple being Apple, they didn't want to play that game. They looked at the problem and said, why don't we just throw the same kind of powerful chip that runs our iPhones and iPads into a tiny box and connect that to the TV? And that's exactly what they did. This Apple TV is literally powered by the A15 Bionic chipset, the same one that powered the iPhone 14. We're not talking about a weak processor from 10 years ago. This is a beastly chip that still performs like a champ today. The moment you start using it, you realize how snappy and fluid everything feels. Opening Netflix isn't a gamble anymore. You press the button and bam, it's there. You jump from YouTube to Disney+, and it's almost instant. Fast forwarding or scrubbing through a movie doesn't feel like torture. It's smooth, accurate, and doesn't lag. Honestly, it's like giving your TV a brain transplant. The body, the display is still from your television brand, but the mind, the intelligence, the actual power behind the experience is Apple's. And trust me, that makes all the difference in the world. Now let me rewind a bit and talk about my personal experience because I didn't get to this conclusion overnight. I actually tried alternatives before landing on the Apple TV. I had 2 televisions at home, both running Android TV OS. At first I thought, this isn't bad at all. I mean, I had access to my favorite apps. But then came the pain points. I'd turn on the TV, go grab a snack, and out of nowhere, the thing would start blasting some random trailer for a show I didn't care about at full volume. I'm talking jump scare levels of loudness, and I'm not exaggerating. And even worse, the whole interface would feel bloated, laggy, and littered with ads. So I thought, alright, let me try something else. Maybe an Amazon Fire Stick. I'll be honest, that did make things a little smoother. Performance was decent, but again, Amazon forced ads down my throat. Every time I wanted to watch something, there was some trailer or Prime Video recommendation being shoved at me. It was exhausting. That was the breaking point. I finally said, let's see what Apple TV can do. And wow, it was like a night and day difference. I powered it on and was greeted with a clean, beautiful interface. No screaming ads, no random trailers blasting at midnight, just a calm dashboard where my apps were neatly arranged. And when I started navigating, that buttery smoothness hit me. Netflix opened instantly. YouTube thumbnails loaded properly. Scrolling didn't feel like pushing a boulder uphill. The smallest details that usually annoyed me elsewhere suddenly disappeared. It felt premium, it felt effortless, and it genuinely felt like the TV was respecting my time instead of wasting it. And speaking of the interface, let's talk about tvOS 26. Oh man, Apple's software game here is unmatched. tvOS might just be the cleanest, most intuitive TV operating system I've ever used. The home screen looks polished, with apps and content right there in the center, so I don't have to dig through layers of menus just to find what I want. It's familiar, too, especially if you've used iOS or iPadOS. That comfort goes a long way when all you want to do is crash on the couch after a long day. And the new liquid glass animations in tvOS 26? Gorgeous. It's subtle, it's slick, it just makes the whole experience feel alive. Plus, Apple actually updates tvOS regularly, not just with bug fixes, but with meaningful new features. That's something most TV manufacturers simply don't bother with. They sell you the TV, throw in a half-baked operating system, and then forget about it. Apple, on the other hand, keeps improving the product long after you've bought it. That's the kind of long-term support I want in a device. Now, let's get into something that really surprised me: gaming on the Apple TV. I didn't expect much here because, come on, it's a little streaming box, right? But Apple Arcade changed the game. You connect a Bluetooth controller, fire up titles from the App Store or Arcade, and suddenly your Apple TV is pulling off graphics that look shockingly good on a 4K screen. I'm not saying it's going to replace your PS5 or Xbox Series X, of course not, but for casual gaming, couch co-op with friends, or even playing solo, it's way better than I imagined. And because of that A15 chip, everything is crisp, responsive, and lag-free. I've had actual gaming nights with friends playing Tennis Champs TV, and trust me, I won more than I lost. The whole setup felt fun, and that's not something I could ever say about gaming on an Android TV or Fire Stick, but here's where the Apple TV really flexes its muscles: the audio-visual experience. It supports 4K resolution, HDR10, Dolby Vision, and Dolby Atmos. Now, these are all fancy buzzwords you hear thrown around a lot, but here's what it actually means: jaw-dropping visuals and immersive sound that transform movie nights into something special. Blacks look deeper, colors look more vibrant, motion feels smooth, and when you pair it with a good sound system, the experience is downright cinematic. And get this, you can even calibrate your TV's display using your iPhone. Hold it up to the screen. Let the sensors do their job, and in under a minute, your colors look more accurate, more balanced, and simply more professional. That's insane. I paired my setup with a JBL soundbar and subwoofer, and let me tell you, when that bass hits during an action scene, you feel it in your chest. It's that powerful. Let's not forget the Siri remote. Usually nobody cares about remotes, right? They're boring, they're clunky, and half the time they disappear between your couch cushions. But Apple somehow made a remote that feels premium and actually fun to use. It's sleek, made of aluminum, and the touch-enabled click pad makes scrolling intuitive and oddly satisfying. You can jog through a movie timeline with a circular gesture, and it feels almost like using an old-school iPod wheel but modernized. Plus, Siri on this thing is surprisingly reliable. I can literally say, "Play Suits," and it pulls it up instantly on the platform that has it. No endless searching, no buffering, just results. And when I'm too lazy to even pick up the remote, which is often, I can just grab my iPhone and use it as a remote. Apple makes sure the ecosystem integration is seamless, and trust me, that's a lifesaver when you're half asleep on the couch and don't want to move. And speaking of the ecosystem, this is where Apple TV becomes a no-brainer if you already own other Apple devices. You want to share photos or videos from your iPhone? Just AirPlay them to the big screen. You're on a FaceTime call? Place your iPhone near the TV and boom, continuity camera kicks in, and now you're video chatting on your television. AirPods. Connect seamlessly for private listening. It all just works. That's the magic of Apple's ecosystem. Now let's tackle the elephant in the room: the price. The Apple TV 4K in 2025 starts at $129 for the Wi-Fi only version with 64 GB storage. There's also a $149 version with an Ethernet port and 128 GB storage. In India, it's RC's $13,999 and RD's $15,999 respectively. Now you might say, that's expensive for a streaming box. And you'd be right, but here's the thing. You're not just buying a streaming box. So, is it worth it? Absolutely, yes. Once you've lived with an Apple TV, going back to the laggy, ad-infested mess of a regular smart TV feels like stepping back in time. Everything feels premium, polished, and respectful of your time. For me, it has completely changed the way I interact with my television. And in 2025, even with so many alternatives out there, I'd still say Apple TV is the most underrated yet essential Apple device you can buy.